It only took one word to make us instantly turn the volume up. Snoop! I'm Ruby Carr, and this is the story of Snoop Dogg and Pharrell's Drop It Like It's Hot.
You know the songs.
Just making people feel something.
It's been a pleasure to work on this song with her.
But do you know the history?
It's a struggle making any kind of record.
I don't always have the direction or concept.
This is Encore, an in-depth look at the stories behind the music. Here's iHeartRadio's Ruby Carr.
If there's one thing you learn about hit songs while listening to this podcast, it's to never underestimate the power of a good hook at any cost. From songs in our archive like Lens, Steal My Sunshine, to Avril Lavigne's Girlfriend, and even songs we've covered this season like Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way, or Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, it's proven time and time again that intelligible lyrics are quite simply not one of the key components of a good pop song. As long as some combination of words sound good on a beat, who cares what they are? Remember, Howie D literally told me to my face that they purposely kept lyrics in I Want It That Way that didn't make any sense. Why? Because of the vibes. They were that good. And it's certainly not just lucidity of thought that can be sacrificed at the altar of catchy hooks and anthemic refrains. And warning, I'm about to sound like a total grandma right now, but have you heard some of those lyrics? Yes, I know, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but it's actually kind of perversely funny to think about so much of the subject matter across all genres of music that we will happily sing or hum along to and vibe to thanks to the power of the killer hook. One such example is, of course, the topic of today's episode, Snoop Dogg and Pharrell's 2004 hit, Drop It Like It's Hot, a #1 hit on the Hot 100 pop songs for 3 of its outstanding 30 weeks, with lyrical content so interesting, it has not 1, but 2 radio edits, a normal one, which cuts out the swears, and an extra clean version for everything else. But we'll get into that later. After breaking out in the early to mid-1990s during the emergence of the West Coast gangster rap scene alongside such hip-hop icons like NWA and Tupac, Snoop Dogg, or Snoop Doggy Dogg as he was originally known, made waves with his 1993 debut album Doggy Style on Death Row Records, the home at the time of Tupac, Dr. Dre, and other notable rap names. Snoop would be credited with being hugely influential in bringing the sounds of G-Funk to the mainstream with his 2 top 10 hits, Who Am I, What's My Name, and Gin and Juice. G-Funk, short for gangster funk, brought a groovier, funk-inspired production style to the gangster rap stylings of early 90s hip-hop, and Snoop was at the forefront of the movement with his softer spoken drawl and layers of crawling and vibrating synthesizers and soulful bass licks. Gangster rap, as you may well be aware, was and technically still continues to be incredibly controversial thanks to its often violent and sexist to misogynistic lyrical content. We don't need to get into the entire debate around it on this episode, as it really is one of music's classic controversies surrounding artistic freedom, freedom of expression, interpretation of lyrics, and overall media literacy. But when Snoop Dogg did his first ever interview with Rap City creator Michelle Geister, he insisted his music was for everyone.
And it's just like that. I mean, I make my music for everybody.
Yeah. Now, Doggy Style, when I received it, the record company called me up and go, it's a party record. And I listened to it and I went, yep, this is a party record.
Exactly. You could just put it on at a party and let it ride from beginning to the end, and everybody will enjoy this stuff. That's what our mission was when we set out to do it, was to make music that make people happy. Not to make people want to go commit crime, but to make people, party and be in a different atmosphere. That's why I don't understand why they label this rap that we do is violent when it makes people happy, it makes people want to party, makes people want to go out and meet people. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of rap I put down.
Yeah. I think maybe some of the people who don't understand rap, that you've got to know the codes to understand what's being said, and people just see the icons, the imagery that stands out, and what they see, for one thing, is guns. So that to them, they associate with violence.
But even if we don't mention those guns or put those guns on videos, people are still going to die of violent crimes, with or without rap. So they can't fault me or fault no other rap artist for the crimes that takes place, because we're just telling you what's going on uncut.
Still considered gangster rap due to his alleged affiliation and constant references to the Rollin' 20s Crips of Long Beach, California, Snoop was actually on trial at the time of that interview and during the release of Doggy Style, and was charged with first-degree murder for the shooting of Philip Walder-Merriam, a member of a rival gang. With all eyes on Snoop, the high-profile nature of the case is thought to have actually helped sales of Doggy Style, but the lyrics of the album track that glorified and aligned himself with gang violence, Murder Was the Case, did make things difficult for Snoop in his not guilty plea. Represented by defense attorney Johnny Cochran, famous for representing O.J. Simpson, Snoop and his defense claimed that his bodyguard was the shooter and acted in self-defense. Snoop was actually acquitted in 1996, with the case being sealed for good just last year. So here's TMZ with the details of what sealing the case actually means.
What we've seen Snoop become, there are probably a lot of people walking around today who don't even know this chapter of Snoop's life, but back in 93, he was arrested and he was actually charged with murder. The verdict came down in 96.
And he was found not guilty.
But he took steps this year. We just found out, broke this story today on TMZ Hip Hop. He took steps earlier this year to seal that case. And we think we know why he did it now, but the judge did sign off and sealed the case.
So and by the way, that means essentially that if you wanted to look for it, you would never find it, that it's basically hidden away. And it's done, this is done from time to time, in court, where just out of fairness, and judges have that discretion.
After his acquittal and the high-profile murders of label mate Tupac Shakur in 1996 and New York's Notorious B.I.G. in 97, Snoop would realize the danger in being involved in the gangster rap scene and begin making moves professionally. He would leave Death Row Records for Master P's No Limit Records and officially rechristen himself Snoop Dogg. He'd tell Much's Master T,
You won't hear us over here at No Limit doing nothing like that. We're too concerned with trying to make real records and make records that make people want to dance and feel it and reminisce and want to, do something right with themselves. We ain't with all that.
While still releasing music at a prolific rate at the end of the 90s, Snoop Dogg transitioned himself to a sort of featured artist extraordinaire in the early 2000s, first reuniting with NWA's mastermind, Dr. Dre, on his classic album 2001, which was actually released at the end of 1999. Dre had produced a countless amount of Snoop Dogg songs over the years, and they'd hooked up previously on Dre's debut single, the controversial Deep cover, and his album The Chronic single, Nothing But a G-Thang, to major acclaim. Snoop's featured on 4 songs on the album, hit singles Still Dre and The Next Episode, and 2 others. Also in the 2000s, Snoop would further soften his gangster image by collabing with way more pop-focused artists, including Mariah Carey, and a collaboration with, at the time, barely 13-year-old Lil Bow Wow on the 2000 track Bow Wow, That's My Name. And a 12-year-old Ruby Carr was going crazy for that one. As writer Stephen Thomas Erlewine would write, after the popularity of gangster rap waned in the late 90s, Snoop Dogg proved himself to be a masterful chameleon, riding his pot-loving image in various directions that helped buoy his career through the 2000s. I don't need to tell you that allusions to smoking weed and gangster rap have gone hand in hand since, well, as far back as I can remember. Dr. Dre's debut album was called The Chronic, after all, and the aforementioned 2001 album was infamous for its sometimes censored pot leaf on its front cover. But not since Willie Nelson had an artist branded themselves so strongly as the stoner musical savant. It's weird, too. While some artists were villainized for their drug and alcohol use, Snoop found himself celebrated for it. And that's not judgment, by the way. I'm just stating that fact. It truly seemed as if the more Snoop Dogg leaned into his lovable stoner persona, the more mainstream and visible he became. It was like, oh, there's Snoop smoking his weed again. What'll he do next, that lovable guy? So much has Snoop Dogg become synonymous with weed, it became national news when he announced he was giving up the smoke in 2023, which of course just turned out to be a marketing stunt for a brand deal with a fireless smoke pit. Well played, Mr. Dogg. Well played. By 2002, it felt more than natural that a pop-leaning Snoop Dogg's next move would be to hook up with producer, songwriter, musical genius Pharrell Williams for the very first time. Now, of course, much like Snoop himself in 2025, Pharrell is a much beloved living legend of the game, but it's crazy to note that even some 23 plus years ago, Pharrell and his Neptunes cohort Chad Hugo were already responsible for so many certified bangers across all facets of pop music. We're going to have to do an insane, Pharrell Neptunes megasode in the future, but just to refresh your memory, by the time Snoop met Pharrell in 2002, Williams and/or Hugo had already blessed us with Britney Spears' Boys and I'm a Slave for You, Fire, Justin Timberlake's Like I Love You, as well as NSYNC's final hit Girlfriend, and Nelly's Hot in Here, just to name a few. So it's kind of surprising that Snoop Dogg and Pharrell's first collab, From the Church to the Palace, from his 2002 Capitol Records album, Paid the Cost to Be the Boss, kind of fell flat. Here's Pharrell and Snoop talking about the track with Scott Venner for Other Tone at Complex Con in 2016.
And I'll never forget, I thought From the Church to the Palace was going to be the hardest record out, and it was for us.
Like the video was sick.
Yeah. But that wasn't the record that did it.
Sure, it's got all the signature bouncing Neptune synths and laid-back Snoop Dogg flow, but it is surprisingly hookless and, dare I say, kind of boring. It wouldn't really matter, though, because Neptunes would produce and release a second Pharrell and Snoop collab from Da Boss. That would be a banger, 2003's Ode to Love, Beautiful. Beautiful, a song that I could imagine was 100% originally presented to Justin Timberlake to croon over. Couldn't you hear that? It sounds exactly like Justified era JT in melody and production, but it's Snoop's Playboy meets Loverboy flow that truly pushes that song into pop smash territory. Snoop kind of charmingly snarls through his most toned-down rhymes to date, only 2 references to weed and 2 passing references to Crips affiliations, while Pharrell repeats the impossibly high falsetto, but insanely catchy, beautiful, I just want you to know. See, it's too high for me. It's too high, but it's so good. Snoop continues to show off his softer side before the song kind of fades out into a wholesome hand-clapping refrain of say, I just want you to know that you are really special. It's so good. The collaboration, also featuring Charlie Wilson, would go to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, Snoop's highest pop charting release as a main artist since Gin and Juice in the early 90s, and suddenly, the rebirth of Snoop Dogg was in full swing. Beautiful would go on to win Pharrell the Producer of the Year Non-Classical Award at the 2004 Grammys, while the song would go on to be nominated for Best Rap Song and Best Rap/Sung Collaboration at the same year's ceremony. It would come up short in both categories, losing to Kanye West for Jesus Walks in the rap category, and lose to an encore OG episode subject, Beyonce and Jay-Z's Crazy in Love for the Rap/Sung Award. But I mean, hey, if you're gonna lose, it might as well be to Beyonce. With all the praise and chart success Beautiful bestowed upon them, it's no surprise that Snoop and Pharrell would choose to strengthen the nature of their relationship. Snoop would leave Capitol and sign for Pharrell's Star Track Records in a collaboration deal with his own Doggy Style Records and major label Geffen Records. Released on November 16th, 2004, R&G Rhythm and Gangsta would be Snoop Dogg's 7th solo album. With plenty of hip-hop, pop, and soul features across the record, it included the likes of Justin Timberlake, Nelly, Lil Jon, and even Bootsy Collins and the Bee Gees. While the Neptunes wouldn't physically produce every single track on the album, Pharrell and Chad Hugo would serve as executive producers of sorts, as well as directly have a hand in no less than 5 of the album's 20 tracks. One of those tracks was, of course, lead single Drop It Like It's Hot, released at the end of September 2004. An absolutely undeniable minimalist banger, the Neptunes produced beat is actually just tongue clicks, a drum machine, occasional keyboard riffs, and spray cans. The story of how the track came together is part environment-inspired creative genius, part healthy competition, and partly just straight-up fear. As Snoop would tell Amazon for their Words Plus music series, to him, Pharrell was like a mad scientist, coming up with borderline, indiscernible vocal melodies and beats that he could turn into magic.
We at the record plant, he in the back with the keyboards. It's just him and the engineer. And he ain't even got the beat all the way made. He's just like, just that part. And he like, I f with this. I'm like, what you see? He like, that's how this nigga get out. He don't say words. He just, so it's my job to make that shit make sense. To put words to this. So I'm hearing him. Cool. So he got a verse.
While Snoop remembers it glowingly, Pharrell, on the other hand, was probably just playing it cool because he remembered the experience as one that was a little bit more nerve-wracking than the always laid-back Snoop did. Here they are joking around about the experience on Snoop's YouTube channel for his Double G News Network in 2014.
You know what I'm saying?
But you know why that came out.
Why?
You were in the room, man. You was there. Yo, it was like 40 Crips in there. Dark blued out, like, and I've never seen it. These guys are just standing around.
Waiting on a motherfucking hit record.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I mean, you feel like you're playing like a video game.
You did Jay-Z some hits. Get dog one.
Man, listen.
You pulled that one rabbit out your hat.
As Snoop and the Neptunes worked the song out, it was Chad Hugo's idea to throw the crashing keyboards and heavy percussion into the track in between verses, while the contact high induced visions of gang members tagging rival gangs' turf with spray paint gave Williams the idea for the whisper-like spraying sounds.
Y'all motherfuckers had some shit, man.
Thank you, man.
Y'all shit was cutting edge. It was that shit.
You know what? Chad's a genius, and he's the ultimate partner, and
it's my motherfucker right there. Chad, what it do? You put that piece on there, drop it like it's hot. We thought it was done till you put that. When you put that motherfucker, that was like the candle on the cake. We was like, God damn.
Mm-hmm.
We was ahead of the game, P.
Yeah, but I was reading the room. I was in there with all that crip. Hey, that's what it was. That and a hell of a lot of contact.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
I got them. I made the beat. I started putting like spray cans on them.
You did. You did. That's what you did. You was like,
throw that on there too. Put that on there.
The sound effect was somebody spray painting some gang shit on the wall. I'm like, this is really into this shit right here.
With the beat nearing completion and the hook transforming from mumbles to earworms, Pharrell and Snoop began thinking of verses to turn Drop It Like It's Hot into the hit we know today. Another tall task that got their competitive juices flowing. Here they are again at Other Tone at ComplexCon.
But Drop It Like It's Hot was so dope because, see, you had the first verse, right?
Yeah.
And your verse was hard. You went bodyguard hard, right?
And I thought for sure you're going to kick me off.
No. But this the crazy part that they may not know.
As Snoop would recall to Words Plus Music, he was actually so impressed with Pharrell's swagged out verse, he certainly wasn't going to kick Williams off the song like Pharrell himself feared. If anything, he wanted Pharrell's verse to go first.
I'm like, nigga, that's pimping. You got to say that. I know this is my song, but that shit hard. You're going first. Cool. He dropped his shit. So now I'm like, okay, now this took the bar all the way. I cannot let Pharrell out-rap me on my motherfucking song. Boom.
Yes, things would get a bit sticky as the lines would get a little bit blurred between Pharrell and Snoop, the equal status co-artists, versus Pharrell, the producer, and Snoop, the all-star rapper. Because when Snoop Dogg entered the booth full of piss and vinegar and probably cannabis, ready to out-rhyme his fashionable friend, Pharrell listened back to Snoop Dogg's verse and, in a room full of 40 alleged Crips, had to tell him he just wasn't feeling it and thought the D.O.G. could do much better. Here's Snoop and P with Scott Venner again in 2016.
But this the crazy part that they may not know. So I do my verse boom. And you don't like it. You like, nah, you could come harder than that. So then I had to re-whip it and do it again. And then when I re-whipped it, I did that one and I did that one.
Yes.
And it was magic. And it was the fact that you even told me, like, nah, you can make my verse harder than yours. In so many words, that's what you were saying.
Not in no certain terms.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. You like, you know, my verse is like harder than yours. So, you know, I'm like, okay, but I like to be pushed like that.
Snoop would remain faithful to that sentiment to The Guardian in 2015 too, telling the outlet, "When I work with Pharrell, he allows me to be me, but also gives me great direction on which is the best me. He loves to critique me and he loves to take criticism," he says. "It makes it challenging in the studio, and I like to be challenged. I don't like everybody to agree with everything that I'm doing." So now the song is done, right? You've got a beat, you've got the hook, you've got the verses honed to perfection. Time to pop some champagne and light up a wait. Nope, Pharrell wants to show the track to Dr. Dre? Yes, for reasons I don't fully understand because I'm, not a multi-platinum recording artist. I know, shocking. Pharrell was so proud of the work he did with Snoop Dogg that night, he immediately wanted to show it off and get critiques from Snoop's friend and constant collaborator Dr. Dre and Mr. 1,000 Miles himself, Jimmy Iovine.
So if you have an opportunity to make a record that can compete with anything that Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre did, what are you gonna do? Hey, Dre, Jimmy, come by the studio. I got something I need y'all to hear. This for real. So while I'm in the studio, they tell me Dre and Jimmy on their way. I'm like, huh? So now my heart beating fast because I'm like, I'm nervous as a like a little kid because Dre don't like nothing. This nigga don't like nothing. I'm like scared like that he gonna come and say he don't like it. So I'm like, they on their way. Like, yeah, they be here in about 15 minutes. I'm like, cool. All right, I'm gonna go in the back room and roll up. I jumped in my car and left. I boned out and left. So Dre and Jimmy in the studio and Pharrell played for him. Now, Pharrell calling me. And I don't want to answer the phone. I'm like, so I answered the phone. It ain't Pharrell, it's Dr. Dre. That nigga said, "Get this shit right here off the hook. Get this shit bomb. Y'all did that." And I was like, oh my God. Oh, and by the way, it's my first #1 single.
Honestly, Snoop Dogg has never seemed more relatable to me in my entire life. He literally said, "Oh, cool, you're going to show off this new unreleased song to two of the most powerful men in music, including one of the dudes who helped put me on the map at the very beginning of my career? Yeah, that's too awkward. I'm out of here." So by now, Snoop, Pharrell, Chad, Dr. Dre, and Jimmy Iovine were well aware of the power of the soon-to-be minimalist club banger that is Drop It Like It's Hot. Like Snoop would tell Hannah Sung for Much soon after the song's release.
It's a magical moment. When you have a hit record, it's like magic. You feel it. Everybody in the room feel it. When it's played, it makes people smile, dance. It's just something about it. It's like your favorite record, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, when you hear it, you just close your eyes and you just, same with us in the studio. When we make it, when we feel it, we fall in love with our records first. Before you get a chance to love them, we have to really love them because these records are like our babies. They're like our kids. You know what I'm saying? It's like we put them together, we made them, and we want to make sure that they sound completely right before you get a chance to hear them. So it's a privileged thing.
Everyone involved knew it was a sure thing, and how could it not be? It's just so fun to sing, "Drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot." Well, I'll give you one potential reason. Lyrically, let me tell you, it's something else. As rapreviews.com would note, the stripped-down sound of the Neptunes produced Drop It Like It's Hot has produced one of Snoop's biggest hits to date. Ironically, it may be in some ways more gangsterish than his deep cover debut in some aspects, but he's so chill about his delivery, it doesn't sound the least bit menacing. Go ahead and look up the lyrics to Deep Cover if you want, but spoiler alert, the title track to the 1992 Jeff Goldblum film of the same name, that was Snoop's official mainstream debut, deals heavily in the themes of gun violence, gang activity, and murder. So how in the world is this cute little spray can bop that everyone and their literal grandmother were singing along to in 2005 more gangster? Well, as we noted earlier, Snoop had mostly toned down his lyrical content throughout most of, if not all, his radio-friendly days. Sure, there were a few little references to the color blue or the specific way a bandana would be placed on a body, and of course, I'm not the one to mess with implications, but it's innuendo. And remember, this was cute Uncle Snoop, smoking a joint, vibing, right? Wrong. Maybe it's because, like Snoop mentioned, Pharrell had really pushed him to go as hard as possible in the track. Maybe it was the presence of 40 Crips in the room at the time of the song's conception, but let me give you a safe-ish for work sample of the lyrics of this eventual Billboard Hot 100 #1 pop hit. Cement shoes, now I'm on the move. Your family's crying, now you on the news. They can't find you, and now they miss you. Must I remind you, I'm only here to twist you, pistol whip you, dip you, then flip you, then dance to this mother effing music we crip to. Slightly menacing. And that's not even touching on the fact that the literal chorus implies if someone gives you attitude, you should, pop it like it's hot. Is that not about balloons? It's not about popcorn? In any case, Drop It Like It's Hot mania ran wild in 2004-2005. Of course, most, if not all, radio stations and music video channels used the clean or extra clean versions, depending on their comfort level with the gang and gun references. So you could be forgiven if you were mindlessly singing along while, bringing your kids to soccer practice. I checked, by the way. The extra clean version has no less than 20 censored words in it, including 3 in the snippet of the verse I just recited to you. So I'll let you guess which ones. Always fun to listen to with every second word cut out, but it didn't matter. The song would enter the Hot 100 at a very respectable number 51 at the beginning of October, and by December 11th, 2004, it was the #1 song in America for 3 weeks, ending its run on Christmas Day. So I guess Santa wasn't feeling it? The song also topped the hot R&B, hip-hop songs and airplay charts, rap songs, rhythmic songs, digital songs, and Hot 100 airplay charts. While the single itself weirdly only went gold in America, it did go double platinum as a ringtone. Remember those before we all put our phones on silent? That's so fun. I'm pretty sure I had that one, and I also had Khalees Milkshake. Should we do a future episode on that song? I feel like we should. Anyway, back to Drop It Like It's Hot. The striking black and white video, complete with Snoop doing the dance move known as the Crip Walk at the beginning and the end of the song, plays into the spray painting, tagging sounds, so synonymous with the production, and that video currently sits at over 354 million views on YouTube, plus one from me just now. The iconic and often memed Snoop dance in the Drop It video also recently became a skin and emote in Fortnite, and the writers at Encore put an explanation in here for me of what that means, but I'll have you know I already knew. Thank you very much. I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. At the end of the 2000s, Billboard would crown Drop It Like It's Hot the #1 rap song of the decade, which is quite the achievement, as technically 7 songs had better runs on the rap songs charts that decade, including past Encore subjects Drake, Best I Ever Had, Missy Elliott's Work It, and 50 Cent's In the Club. All in all, the song remains Snoop Dogg's only #1 as a main artist. He does, though, have 2 other #1s as a featured artist. Can you think of which ones those are? I'm going to give you a second to think. Can you think of it? Katy Perry's 2010 hit California Girls, I would have remembered that one, but also his 2006 collab with Akon for I Wanna Love You. Pharrell, on the other hand, would actually go on to usurp Snoop's achievement with 3 more #1 hits, including Moneymaker with Ludacris, Blurred Lines with T.I. and Robin Thicke, and of course, everyone's favorite bit of Minions lore, 2013's Happy. In doing research for this episode, there's a point in that interview I played earlier where Michelle Geyser asks a young Doggy Dog in early 1994 what he wants his legacy to be in 10 years' time. He tells her something that catches her and assumedly the audience a little bit off guard, considering his hardened gangster image at the time.
Where do you hope to be in 10 years? What do you think you go?
I want to be the Elvis of rap. I don't know how you could perceive that, but the reason why I say that is because he's been dead about 20 years and they still won't let him rap because they have so much respect for his music, and that's what I want.
Certainly lauding a young Snoop Dogg as the Elvis of rap was pretty much unthinkable in 94, but just over 10 years from that interview, we were definitely still celebrating him with his first #1 hit, and now, just over 20 years on, I checked the numbers, he does have more monthly listeners than the King. So maybe he wasn't all that far off. He ain't nothing but a hound dog, after all. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm Ruby Carr. Thank you so much for listening to Encore and the story of Snoop Dogg and Pharrell's Drop It Like It's Hot. I'll have to do a different podcast all about his friendship with Martha Stewart. I feel like that needs its own episode. New episodes of Encore every Thursday, and you can always leave us a review and let us know what songs you'd like to hear next.
Encore is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Download the free iHeartRadio app and subscribe.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.